Kaylyn Novak is with us. I don't know, I had to figure it out. I just instructed her to pull in her tummy, but she said, no, I'm actually pregnant. So it's a second pregnancy, plant-based. The first one went exactly the same way. And she wants to talk us through vegan pregnancy and everything you need to know about extracting proteins from your plant-based diet. Kaylyn, over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Kaylyn, and I'm a registered dietitian. And today we're going to speak about everything you need to know about plant protein. So the talk isn't focused on pregnancy, it's about plant protein, just in case that's what you came for. But I did speak about pregnancy last year. So today we're going to be talking about plant protein. And we're pointing it the right way. Sorry.
On Sunday, the technology
slow.
takes the day off. It did work just now.
There we go. So where do I point? Just that way?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if anyone is vegan or plant-based here, but I went vegan now over 8 years ago, and this is probably the most common question that I have been asked. It is, where do you get your protein on a vegan diet? Has anyone been asked that before? Okay. There we go. So hopefully I can give you the answers today. And so why do people have these concerns around plant protein? So there's a few reasons I would say for this in the media or even among medical professionals. And I'm going to highlight these reasons, and then we're going to go through them today in the presentation. And one of the main reasons is the protein combining myth, this idea around the fact that plant proteins are incomplete, as well as the quality of protein from plants, people not being aware of how much protein we need, and lastly, just poor knowledge around what plant protein sources are. So let's first start with what is protein. So protein is one of the 3 macronutrients. The other 2 is carbohydrates and fat, which I'm sure you've all heard before. But protein is actually made up of 20 building blocks called amino acids. And these are vital for our body's health. So our body can synthesize most of these amino acids, but some are essential, and we need to get them through our diet. And these are called the 9 essential amino acids. You can see a little diagram there, just visually, to explain. And this is where we can talk about the protein combining myth. So many of the concerns around plant proteins come from this myth that plant proteins are incomplete. I don't know if anyone has heard about this myth before, but that you need to combine your plant proteins together to make them complete at meals. But plants actually contain all of the 9 essential amino acids. So they have all of the essential amino acids that we do need from our diet. They're just not in equal amounts of every amino acid. They tend to either be like a little bit lower in methionine or lysine, but this is actually not a concern because our body maintains free pools of amino acids, and it does the protein combining for us, which we now know. So if we basically eat a variety of plants throughout the day, our body will do the protein combining for us, rather than us needing to combine our protein at meals. The only exception is maybe if someone is following a vegan diet and they're not eating legumes, so they're eating just grains, nuts and seeds, then they might be a bit low in lysine. So we should just strive to consume 3 to 4 servings a day of beans, soy, or peanuts to easily meet your lysine needs. So in a nutshell, if someone tells you about protein combining, it's a myth. Your body does the protein combining for you, and you can get all of your 9 essential amino acids from plants. And just to highlight, some medical professionals still believe this, so don't be fooled. Okay. So why do we need to eat protein? So we don't just need protein for muscles. There are other health benefits to having protein. It supports good bone health. It's involved in the creation of some hormones. It helps to form a healthy immune system. And eating enough protein also promotes satiety and fullness after meals. Okay, so now that we understand what protein is, how much protein do we actually need? So the RDA is the recommended daily allowance for protein to prevent muscle loss and meet our amino acid requirements. And I don't know if anyone has heard about the RDA or they know how much protein they need. I don't know if it sounds a bit foreign, but an average person needs zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kg body weight. So as you can see on the right, if you weigh 70 kilograms, you'll need about 56 grams of protein a day, which isn't actually a lot of protein. And if you're a plant-based eater, you actually need a little bit more at 0.9 grams per kg body weight. So here, the same weight at 70 kgs, you can see you need 63 grams per day. So if you're getting protein from plants, you do need to eat a bit more protein, and we got to explain why here. This is sometimes the idea of protein quality comes into play. I don't know if anyone's heard that plant proteins are an inferior quality to animal proteins. So it's because of the fact that we need to eat a bit more. But it's not really the case, because plant proteins are just less digestible by 2.6%. And this is because of all the fiber in plants. So when we eat plants, we don't actually absorb all the protein because that fiber passes through us. So we just need to eat a little bit more. It's not really a concern if you understand, I guess, more the science behind it. So we simply just need to eat 0.9 grams per kg per body weight. And the fiber is actually a great health benefit in the protein. So it really shouldn't be something that you're concerned about. And just to cover that, it explains the misconception, because we can get all of the same amino acids from plants. It's just that we have to eat a little bit more to actually absorb all the protein that we need. Okay, so now we've looked at the RDA, which is the minimum protein you need. When do you have increased protein needs? So who needs to eat a bit more protein than the RDA? So if you're an athlete, so you do a lot of intense training to rebuild muscle and repair your muscle. If you're pregnant, so if you're growing a baby, you'll have to eat a little bit more protein. The same as if you're breastfeeding, because you need to consume extra protein to provide the calories and protein for the baby to grow. And then lastly, if you're elderly, so over the age of 60, you'll need to eat a little bit more protein to prevent muscle wasting or sarcopenia, and also to promote good bone health. So these are all the groups of people that we recommend eat a little bit more protein. You can see kind of the range is there. And you might be thinking, I don't fall into any of those groups. Do I still need to eat the RDA? And I would say that you can eat more protein if you so wish, because it actually does have some health benefits. Studies have shown that if you eat between the range of 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kg body weight, it can help regulate blood sugar levels, maintain muscle mass, and also help you to feel more full or satisfied after a meal. So if you're vegan or plant-based and maybe you eat a meal and you find you're a bit hungry an hour or two later, it might be because that meal didn't have any protein in it, or maybe enough protein, and you must think about maybe adding an additional source of protein into that meal for the next time. So you can benefit from eating a bit more protein too, but it's good to know that you don't need to eat a lot of protein if you go back to the slide here. Okay, so now we've covered what is protein, how much do we need, what are the plant protein sources. I don't know if anyone wants to answer this question. Maybe you can raise a hand. And yes, beans, yes, legumes, great. Any others? It covers a lot, but nuts, I'm sorry? Yes, all vegetables have some protein. So nuts, beans, all vegetables, yes, they have a little bit of protein. But this is something that I want to highlight, is that these are, I would consider, the three groups of proteins. And if, I'll just skip ahead to explain here quickly, but if it contains protein, doesn't mean that it is a protein source. So nuts or seeds, quinoa, vegetables, they all contribute to our daily protein intake, which is great. But when we're planning our meals, we must actually think of these groups. We must make sure that this is the protein that comes to mind when we think of plant protein. So one serving of plant protein equals more than 7 grams of protein. So this is half a cup of beans, half a cup of tofu, a cup of soy milk, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, or maybe a scoop of protein powder, which is usually half a serving of protein powder. So yeah, think of these 3 food groups and know that most plants contain protein, but you should be conscious and knowledgeable of these groups. So now that we know how much protein we need, how can we get enough protein with these food groups? So it is recommended to consume 3 to 4 servings per day of each of these protein sources to meet the RDA. Or maybe if you fall into one of the categories that have higher protein needs, you want to consume 5 to 6 servings, or if you have a very high body weight, maybe even a bit more. So just to practically explain, let's say you're making your oatmeal and you throw in a cup of soy milk, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, that's already 2 servings. Maybe you make a tofu scramble at lunch, you have half a cup of tofu there. Maybe you make a bean curry, that's another half a cup of beans. That's 4 servings, so you've already met your RDA. Let's say you want to eat a higher protein intake. Maybe you add in a scoop of protein powder to that oatmeal in the morning, and maybe you have a whole cup of beans with your curry instead of half a cup of beans, and that will get you to 6 servings. So it is very doable. Even with whole foods, if you don't want to consume protein powder, you just have to be a little bit more selective around what you're choosing to add to your meals. Okay. So here, these groups are great because even though they aren't protein sources, they still have protein. So nuts and seeds, you can see it's quite close to 7 grams. Quinoa, it's 4 grams of protein for half a cup. So not a protein source, but at a great high protein grain. And then something to highlight is that almond, rice, or oat milk only has 1 to 3 grams of protein. So I want to skip ahead just to this one here. Something that I always say is to try, if you're worried about protein or you have higher protein needs, to choose soy milk most of the time for plant milks. I personally don't like soy milk in my coffee, so I do almond milk. But for my oats and my smoothies, I do choose soy milk. And then you can also add plant protein to your breakfast, as I mentioned, because this is usually where someone might fall short in their protein, is adding it to their breakfast. Make sure you include beans, tofu, or tempeh at most meals. Add nuts and seeds to meals. You can use plant protein for convenience. So maybe you're traveling and you know there aren't going to be a lot of protein-rich vegan meals. And then just to go back here, because this is the summary here, is to use the balanced vegan plate. Okay, so maybe the whole idea of servings confuses you or stresses you out a bit. So I wouldn't recommend weighing or measuring your food. This is just a guide to help you understand the sizes of these plant proteins you should be adding to your meals. And if it feels more ideal, you can use the balanced plate method. So it looks like this. And this is basically what a healthy vegan plate would look like. I don't know if anyone's seen this image before. But you want half of your plate to be fruits and vegetables, about a quarter grains, and then the other quarter, or a little bit more than a quarter, is your legumes and your nuts and seeds. And if you're eating a balanced vegan plate like this, you will easily be meeting your protein needs because you got your 3 to 4 protein servings a day, and then you also have your grains and your vegetables, which all contribute to meeting your protein needs. So this is a really nice practical visual for people that maybe don't want to be stressing about protein or just to easily make a balanced vegan plate. So we went through the other practical tips. Just out of interest, does anyone here consume soy milk or fearful of soy milk? Is that fearful or consumes? In balance, okay. And tofu or tempeh, edamame, okay. So we're all on the soy side. Is anyone fearful of soy? No, okay. I could also run through that maybe at the end if anyone wants to ask. Okay, great. So now we've looked at how much protein we need and how can we eat enough protein. How much protein do vegans actually consume? So let's say you've been vegan for a few years and the first time you're hearing about these servings and this plate and you think, have I been eating enough protein this whole time? It is very likely that you have been. When they did a study in the Journal of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, it was the largest study to date comparing the nutrient intake of more than 71,000 non-vegetarians, vegetarians, and vegans, and they found that on average, the vegetarians and vegans get 70% more protein than they need every day, which was more than 70 plus grams. So it shows that we do intuitively eat enough protein. So that protein deficiency is not an issue when following a vegan diet. As an average, we ate more protein than we actually needed. So I just want to highlight that, because sometimes when you have been plant-based, you think maybe you're doing it wrong, but we probably are doing it right. But it's just nice to know the protein sources and practically how to eat more protein in our diet if we wish. Okay, so what nutrients are populations actually deficient in? So someone might throw at you, you don't get enough protein when eating a vegan diet, but maybe this is something that you can kind of throw back, like, do you know how much fiber you're actually eating? So a nutrient that the average person is deficient in is actually fiber, and fiber is really important for gut health, longevity, and the prevention of disease. So in the US, it shows that only 5% of people meet their fiber target of 25 grams for women or 38 grams for men. And I found a South African statistic here because I thought it's more relevant, that women and men eat as low as 16 and 18 grams of fiber a day. So that is extremely low, and you can see the target is 25 to 38 grams of fiber. And when we look at studies on vegan populations, we easily meet our fiber needs. We eat up to 43 grams of fiber a day. So just to, in summary, say that the average person is not meeting their fiber needs, but choosing plant proteins over animal foods can help us meet this beneficial nutrient. So we've talked about fiber, now let's talk about the other benefits of plant protein. So choosing plant proteins over animal proteins has a variety of health benefits, and you can keep these in mind when someone asks you where you get your protein from, if you're vegan or plant-based. It contains sufficient protein, as we mentioned, as well as iron and zinc. The fiber contributes to a healthier gut microbiome and improved gut health. Plant-based proteins like the legumes and the beans and soys and like edamame, they're all rich in antioxidants, which actually prevent cellular damage and decrease the risk of disease. Plant proteins also contain no saturated fat. This is one of the really big benefits of plant proteins, which can raise our cholesterol levels and promote heart disease. And then lastly, studies show that eating plant proteins has a reduced disease risk. So eating more plant proteins will reduce your risk of certain cancers, heart disease, diabetes, when swapping animal protein with plant protein. So I just want to state here, because the saturated fat, there are a lot more accessible plant mock meats that might have a little bit of saturated fat if it's got coconut oil, maybe palm oil, so something just to note. But otherwise, all the other plant proteins have no saturated fat, so it's a really big benefit. Okay, so some takeaway points, because we did cover a lot. So vegans can easily meet their protein needs with some planning or just having knowledge on the plant protein sources. You want to aim for 3 to 4 protein servings per day just to meet the RDA, or you can use the balanced vegan plates. You want to make sure you include lysine-rich foods. So if you are a vegan or plant-based eater who kind of survives off of grains, nuts or seeds, or vegetables, you want to make sure you are including those beans, those soy foods, and the peanuts every day, which is the 3 to 4 protein servings. And just have the confidence and know that these plant proteins have a variety of health benefits of choosing getting your protein from plants rather than animal foods. So yeah, I hope this gave you the confidence to choose more plant proteins from today. Okay, thank you. Don't know if you have any questions. Do you have a question? Yeah? I think they're coming with the mic.
Hold on with questions. Here I come. Here you go.
Thank you. You mentioned the soya products.
Yes.
There is a lot of these soya mints and also these soya chunks,
like
the
the
dried
TVP.
ones.
Yes.
How about those ones?
Yeah, so processed food doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad food. Tofu is also a little bit processed, and so is soy milk. I would say it's a great protein source. If you look at the ingredients, if it's not like a market meat that contains coconut oil and saturated fat, then it's a great thing that you can maybe mix with some lentils in a bolognese or shepherd's pie. So it's a little bit of processing, but it will take the fiber away, but it won't take any other of the benefits away from the protein itself. Okay, sure.
Yep, there's a question back here.
Hello.
Hi.
I'd like to know, somebody with a nut allergy, how would they
Yes.
balance their vegan diet?
So seeds are actually just as high in protein as nuts. So pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. Is it a peanut allergy? Just in general? Okay. Yeah, so you can focus more on the seed butters or adding seeds to your meals. They're actually almost just as high as, like I said, in protein and iron and zinc. So it really shouldn't be a concern. If someone has a peanut allergy, you can also still meet your protein needs without peanut butter. It's very possible. You just want to make sure you're eating other nuts or seeds if you have a peanut allergy. Yeah, so it is very, very possible. Nothing to worry about. Just being aware that maybe you still want to add those seeds into your diet. Okay,
There's a question over here.
sure.
Hi, Kaylyn.
Hi.
I just want to ask
Yes.
if it's at all, I don't know, a good question.
Yes.
What would you say is more nutritious, especially on the beans and legumes side? Obviously, it's very cost effective to buy dried beans and
Yes.
legumes. The cans are very nice for quick supper if you're in a rush. But is there any noticeable difference in the nutrition value between dried or
Yes,
fresh?
so that's a really great question. So not in terms of the protein, as long as you're cooking your beans properly. If they're still a little raw, you might not be digesting as much protein. But there's nothing in terms of protein. And the iron and zinc could be a bit higher in the dried that you're cooking. If you soak it overnight, it decreases the phytates, which will increase the absorption of the iron and the zinc. So it is great if you're happy to cook your own beans. Personally, I did that, then I had 2 kids, and I was like, I'm doing canned beans, because as long as I get my beans in, I'm happy. I mean, I use, like, the nice thing is, like, lentils. You can buy lentils dry. It's very easy to cook. But things like chickpeas or black beans can take a while. If you want, just another tip, if you want to cook them dried, you can just soak them overnight, and it will actually halve the cooking time. So rather than taking an hour and a half of cooking your black beans, soak them overnight. It'll take 45 minutes. And then, yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah, okay, great.
Here's another question.
Hi, Kaylyn.
Hi.
What source do you choose to get your B12 from?
Source? Supplements? you're asking?
Source, or if you're relying on
Oh,
food, or if
yes,
you're simply
okay, I
just
understand.
supplementing.
No, I do supplements. In South Africa, we don't have as many B12 fortified supplements as other countries. But if you are getting your B12 from fortified foods, you just want to make sure it's a reliable source. And that, when I say reliable, I mean you're consuming it every day, more than once a day, because it's usually not the full dose of B12. So I always say B12 is like the one nutrient you want to supplement as a vegan. So, and it's also quite a affordable supplement. So it is something that you kind of just want to supplement and know you've covered your bases and you're not worrying. Just because in South Africa we don't have as many fortified B12 products. That's how I go about guiding people. And also, with supplements, it's better to do a consult with someone and you kind of see like what you're eating. But yeah, just in general around B12, it's the one nutrient we want to supplement. So, is anyone not supplementing B12 and they're vegan? Okay.
All right, we've got a question over here as well. 2 more coming
Yeah.
your way shortly.
Sure.
Thanks for the presentation, Kaylyn.
Of course.
So I fast.
Oh, I've gone to the sorry. Thank
Oh,
you,
thank
everyone.
you. Yeah.
You reminded me. Thank you. I haven't thanked my audience. Yes, you fast.
I fast long periods of time. So I do 22 hours a day and then 2 hours of
Okay.
eating every day.
Yes.
So I get my body into autophagy basically as
Yes.
much as possible
Okay.
for spiritual purposes as well. But nutritionally, I need to eat dense food
Yes.
when I do break my fast and try to get as much in as possible.
So
my
your
question,
eating window is 2 hours.
2 hour eating
Okay.
window. So I need dense protein.
Yeah. I would say your soy foods are probably the most digestible protein sources. So tofu and tempeh and protein powders. The reason why is because they have less fiber and they tend to have a higher amino acid profile. So you can get, like we said, plants have all the amino acids, but they are the most balanced in terms of amino acids. So yeah, soy foods, protein powders, those I would say, or soy milks are really great protein sources. That's why I asked if anyone was fearful of them, because they're great to have in your diet. I don't know if that helps answer.
That helps. And then
Yes.
something very random, I wrote you a little poem. Can I read it to you?
You wrote me a poem.
Yeah, on your presentation. It'll be quick, can
Okay,
I?
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
In the world of nutrition, there's often a debate. But thanks to Kaylyn's wisdom, we're setting the record straight. At the plant-powered show, she stands tall and proud, speaking the truth about protein clear and loud. A plant-based diet? Scoffs Sirloin Steve. What a myth. Can broccoli ever replace my precious grilled earth? But Kaylyn steps forward with knowledge and grin. Sit down, Steve, she says. Let the enlightenment begin. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, she recounts with glee, are brimming with protein as much as the eye can see. Quinoa, tofu, and seeds of the hemp make a protein-packed meal. She's the true champ. And I'm going to end it off. So here's to Kaylyn, our plant-based guide. In her wisdom, we confide. She's shown us the path to health and delight. Through the power of plants, she shone a light. So let's raise a toast with a smoothie in hand. To Kaylyn's wisdom, isn't it grand? Our bodies, our planet, they deserve our affection. Through the plant protein power, we find the connection.
Wow, you should be up here with me.
Cool.
Wow, your words are really beautiful. Thank you for
So
that.
that's how
I'm
we should
really
have ended. I
honored,
feel
so
like we
thank
shouldn't
you.
be saying anything after that. But there were two more questions. Where were those hands over there? One more, go for it.
Thank you.
Of
I
course.
wanted to ask about the
Yes.
different values of the nuts. I was told with nuts to go more for almonds, but let the macadamians out.
Leave
you-
the macadamians out.
Yeah, because of the high fat.
Yeah, so, I mean, I always say there's no such thing as a bad nut. Nuts are so healthful. But if you are worried about protein, then you definitely want to be focusing on the peanuts and the almonds. Those tend to be higher in protein. But, I mean, there's no reason to exclude macadamias unless maybe you are worried about protein. Is that
No, I was
there a
not
reason?
worried about neither
No.
fat nor, but I was just told that macadamians
Yes.
are actually not really that healthy.
Yes. I mean, there's nothing unhealthful about them besides maybe what they're thinking is the fat content, but fats are really healthful and important for us. So I would say there's no reason to exclude them, but maybe as a daily nut source, maybe not the one you want to be prioritizing. But I actually love macadamia nut butter, sometimes on like oats because it's sweet, or on like a dessert. Yeah, don't ever let anyone tell you that a plant food is evil. It's usually not the case. Okay, sure.
Where was the other question? Oh, here we go.
Hi there.
Hi, we've been vegetarian for over 70 years.
Wow, that's
Right.
amazing. Wow.
But we don't follow vegan diet.
Yes, yes,
Milk products. We have milk products
yes.
and the cheeses and things like that. Does that make any difference?
So you're consuming the beans and the soy
Yeah.
foods and so I would say not so much soya. Okay, so if you wanted to move towards a more plant-based diet, soy milk is a great option to switch out for cow's milk because it's the same protein and calcium, and it's actually low in calories and has no saturated fat. So it's a really easy switch people can do overnight if you're still consuming dairy and you want to eat more plant-based. But in terms of protein, cheese doesn't really contribute a significant amount of protein. So you're probably getting about the same protein that you would if you were vegan,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
We eat quite a lot of the veggies
Yes, okay, great.
and the full range of legumes and all the
Yes.
rest of it. But we still like our cheese and milk.
Yes, of
and-
course. No, I think you should do what works for you, whatever feels great for you. I was just giving you like a protein option drink that's vegan. So if you wanted to ever switch out the cow's milk, then soy milk is probably the most nutritionally comparable. Otherwise, it sounds like you guys are doing really great following your vegetarian diet, which is amazing to hear. 17 years, that's a very long time.
The last question, we were
Yes.
told that tree nuts are better than ground nuts.
Are better than ground nuts. Could you give me examples that you...
Peanuts are
Yes, yes.
ground-based, whereas the rest are tree-based.
Sorry, let me come a bit closer.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's
the
okay.
rest are tree-based.
Then tree-based. Oh, then cashews. Yeah, so the reason peanuts is actually, people think of them as nuts, but they're actually a legume. And that's why I say they are protein source, because they are higher in protein than the other nuts. But all nuts are great. They're one of the foods that contribute to longevity, and they contain protein. So I wouldn't say there's any need to exclude any nuts or seeds, unless you have a nut allergy. Otherwise, you can eat the nuts and enjoy it as a very healthful diet.
Thank you.
Of course.
Kaylyn, thank you very much. It was well done, well informed. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending the last talk of the day.